Hello folks, this video is for software apprentices and I want to share with you some workflow tips. I'm going to cover sort of how to lay out your windows when you're programming and a bunch of very commonly used keyboard shortcuts that can allow you to work without having to move your pointer around much, if at all. So let's get started. In a lot of situations when you're writing code, you're going to work with a text editor and then another window, which might be the terminal or the web browser. And I'll go through both use cases. So let's say if you're writing a program and you're running that program in a terminal, and you want to bring up that program in your text editor. Now, what I tend to do is to lay out the two windows that you're going to work with side by side. And this way, you don't have to do any kind of context switching between the two. If, on the other hand, some people I see, they would maximize their windows like this for, I guess, the most amount of real estate. The drawback of that is that whenever you're switching, well, first of all, it's kind of tedious to do. You have to find this button or you have to sort of switch between the desktops, which takes kind of long. There's a sliding animation that has to happen. Or even if they are overlapping windows and you use a shortcut to flip between them, the Command Tab shortcut, there is still a context switch that has to happen in your mind, and that's actually fairly slow. So it's much better to lay the windows out side by side like this. That way you can flip between them back and forth and no context switch has to happen in your head at all. And yeah, just avoid maximizing your window. And this applies especially for Mac, because for some reason when you maximize a window in Mac, it brings you to a different desktop, which is really disorienting. So now let's write some code. So I have this piece of code which adds two matrices together, and I want to refactor the code somewhat. The goal is to work on this code while not moving the mouse pointer at all, because the less you have to use the mouse pointer, the more efficient you're going to be. So how can we do that? Okay, so let me edit some code. I think to make this code slightly simpler, what I'm gonna do is initialize the resulting array of the addition to have the full dimensions. And then I don't need to sort of build up the rows of that matrix anymore, which simplifies the code to m3.i equals sum. And I think that's it. So at this point, to save this file, I use the Command S shortcut. And then to flip back to the terminal, I would use the Mac shortcut, which is Command Tab. And now I'm in the terminal. And to run this program, I can type node matrix addition 2. That's the name of my file. Hit enter. And that is the result, and that looks good. If I wanted to make another change, like this, I think. Okay, now I save. To save this file in the Atom text editor, I switch back to the terminal again, Command Tab. And this time, since I had already executed the node script once, I can use the up arrow shortcut to go back to my previous command that's in the terminal and hit enter again to save myself some typing. Now the up arrow is actually really versatile, and you can go back to previous historical commands that you've used. Going back, I don't know exactly how long, but it can go back pretty far. So it's very handy. Okay, here's now more keyboard shortcuts or tricks for the terminal. So in terminal, there's something called the auto completion or tab completion, which is activated using the tab key. So if you partially type out the name of something and then hit tab, it'll try to auto-complete it for you. If the tab first time doesn't work, you can try tab again. That will give you all of the things. If there are multiple matches, it'll print out all of the possible matches. So when I type NO, it was able to find node and some other things that start with NO. So now I can type node. And if when you type tab, there's only one possible match, then it will complete that entire match for you on the command line. And that is often very useful. And you can, a lot of times, just by typing tab, you can save yourself tons of typing. So that's tab completion. You can also, there's also a couple of shortcuts that's useful for editing your command. So let's say you made a mistake at the beginning of the line. So instead of typing node, I type NDE, and you find out about it, and then you go back to the previous command using up arrow. And now if you wanted to go back to the beginning of the line, you're just pressing left arrow many times to get back there. But it turns out there's an easier way, which is Control A to go to the beginning of the line. And that way you can fix the problem a lot easier. And in addition to Control A to go to the beginning of the line, you can also use Control E to jump to the end of the line. If for some reason you wanted to jump to the beginning, fix something, and then jump back to the end to fix something at the end as well. That is very useful. Now, some shortcuts in the Atom text editor, and a lot of other text editors share these shortcuts as well. First of all, you can hold down the Shift key and use your arrow to move around in the editor, and that will select all of the text that's between the current caret position and the caret position from when you started holding down the Shift key. And that's very useful for selecting things to copy and paste. So one common use case is if you want to reorder some of your code, like if I wanted to put this above, if I wanted to put M3 above the declaration for M2, for example. So, and I guess at this point is a good idea to talk about copy and paste, which is a universal shortcut for Macs. So copy is Command C and paste is Command V. In this case though, I don't want to do that. Let's undo that, and the shortcut for undo is Command Z. In this case, I want to move something around, so I would cut it instead of copying it, and then paste it. So this is a move that I use very, very frequently to sort of rearrange the order of things, because I'm a bit of a neat freak, and I think if you're a software developer, you need be. And in the Atom text editor, there is also the functionality to jump back and forth between the beginning of the line and the end of the line. So you can, but the shortcut is different. The shortcut in Atom editor to jump to the back of the line is Command right arrow, and to the front of the line is Command left arrow. So Command right arrow to go to the end of the line, Command left arrow to go to the beginning of the line. Another useful shortcut to know in Atom is how to toggle the project directory panel, and that is holding down Command, press K and then B. And Sublime Text also has this same shortcut. So you can get at the project panel this way. So now let's say we want to work with the web browser. So what I'm gonna do, okay, clear the screen. I'm going to open the index.html page. So what I'm gonna do is move the web browser to the left side so that it's side by side with my text editor window. There are times if I have to work with the web browser and the terminal and the editor simultaneously, I would sort of tile them like this, but that's less necessary. A lot of times I will just do this. So this program that's embedded in this web page just prints some text. I can make it run the matrix addition program instead. So let's do that. Matrix addition -2, and I'm gonna save, Command S. I'm gonna tap over to Google Chrome. By the way, the OS X's tab to switch window, if you hold down the Command key, it'll show you all of your windows that are available, and then you can just, if you want to move to the next window in the list, you can just keep hitting tab and tap and tap and tap, and then it'll cycle back once you get to the end of the list. So right now I want Chrome. So once you get to the desired selection, just let go of the Command key and that window will be selected. So now in the browser, the only shortcut that you really need to know is Command R to refresh the page. And that did run my matrix addition program, so that seemed to work. And that's pretty much the important things that I wanted to go over. Finally, a universal shortcut in Mac is Command W to close a window, and Command Q to close an application. And I can do the same thing in Atom. Command W to close a particular file, and finally Command Q to close the Atom editor itself. That's it. Happy coding.